So White House counselor Kellyanne Conway, she threatened a reporter on a phone call, and it seems she thought the call was off the record. I'll explain, but listen to this.
You're the quote breaking news reporter is what it says here, and I'm just trying to understand what the breaking news was there.
I'd be happy to have you talk.
So far I don't see breaking news, and so far I don't see reporter. So I'm just trying to understand either one, let alone all three together.
I would be happy to have you talk to my editor.
Oh, yeah, it's always right, exactly. You're really going places. Let me tell you something from a powerful woman. Don't pull the crap where you're trying to undercut a woman based on who she's married to. He gets his power through me, if you haven't noticed, not the other way around. And if these are the quote standards, unquote, at the Washington Examiner, then yes, I'd be happy to talk to your editor. But I've known your editor since before you were born, so I can call your editor either way. I'm just trying to give you a chance to explain why you think what you wrote qualifies as breaking news or reporting.
Okay, so and to be fair, the reporter works for a conservative newspaper, Washington Examiner. Her name is Caitlin Yilek, and this is, I hope the last time I have to talk about the Washington Examiner, seriously. But Conway was mad about newspaper coverage about her husband, who puts himself in the news a lot. And there's more, listen.
Look,
when I was young and starting in my career, I was in the friend-making business. And I worked super hard. You could have put that in paragraph 2 also.
All right, like I said, I have got to go. I'd be.
So listen, if you're going to cover my personal life, then we're welcome to do the same around here. If it has nothing to do with my job, which it doesn't, that's obvious, then we're either going to expect you to cover everybody's personal life, or we're going to start covering them over here.
So in case you didn't catch that last part, she says, if you're going to cover my personal life, then we're welcome to do the same around here.
Yeah, wow, that's a threat.
And of course, because we're talking about Kellyanne Conway, she completely denies that it was a threat. And which brings us to this.
Whoa, I never threatened anyone. Don't use those words.
You want to cover her personal life.
No, I didn't threaten. It's not a threat. I never threatened her.
So what does that mean,
Excuse me. Don't use that word if it's not true. Do not.
Well,
if I threaten somebody, you'll know it. If I threaten someone, you'll know it. Okay? And so don't do that.
So what does that mean?
Don't do that. I think it's very obvious.
It seems obvious as a threat to dig into her personal life.
Dig in. Who cares? You don't even know her name. You guys don't even. You just. Well, now you know her name. Why would you? And I never raised my. I was just said, why would you?
What does that mean? Cover her personal life.
No.
You said that.
Right. So don't use the word threaten and don't use the word investigate and stop being so silly.
Yeah. So look, I don't know why anybody bothers talking to Kellyanne Conway.
Right.
Yeah. There's just no point. You say, okay, well, what did you mean by you'll investigate her life? If that's not a threat, what is it? You're being silly. I don't know what that means. So she's like, okay, look, again, if it's not a threat, what was it? And she's like, it obviously wasn't a threat. Okay, but then what was it, right? And she won't answer the question. All she ever does is alternative facts. So look, I feel bad for folks who are not in a position of power, right? Because you're that reporter, you don't know how your editor's gonna react, for sure. It's a conservative outlet.
Right.
Kellyanne Conway, if you notice, said, I know you're a reporter since before you were born. That's another threat, like I'll have you fired. So the reporter's in an awfully tough position. But I'm dying, because I want to be in that position because she has no power over me. I'd be like, oh, you're gonna look into my life. Okay, great, no problem. I'm glad that you opened up that box. I'm gonna have 2 more reporters look into your personal life. Because you're the one at the White House. I have no power, you have power. You're in charge of the United States government. You're a senior advisor to the president. Great, apparently you think personal lives should be investigated. You know what the story was about? It was the most reasonable story the Washington Examiner has ever run. Not because it's progressive or it's moderate. No, they just said, hey, Kellyanne Conway is up for chief of staff. That's true. But it's an interesting situation to find herself in because her husband is one of the president's biggest critics, which is true. I literally don't know anyone in the country who questions Trump's mental health more than me, other than George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's husband. He wrote a 19-page editorial questioning the president's mental health, saying that he is mentally unbalanced, disturbed, and should be removed from office. If you don't think that's relevant to write about a potential chief of staff, you're nuts. And Kellyanne Conway, of course, knows that it's relevant.
Yeah,
it's just a power play.
That's totally what it is. And it's like, listen, she's like, he gets his power from me, girl.
Right.
I respect that. Please use some of that to call AT&T and get his phone cut off because he is doing this to you.
Brooke, great point.
Like your husband keeps tweeting that your boss should be fired and prosecuted.
Right, that's the subtext of all of this. She's pissed that she can't rein her husband in. And I know that's bad to say, but it's the truth, right? And so, in no such words, Brooke, you had said that call was wild. I listened to it 3 times on the way here and at work because it was laughing. It was like the best. It was like on a Saturday Night Live. But when she said he gets his power through me, haven't you noticed? Then when she said she doesn't make threats, she indirectly made threats throughout that whole call.
The call was a threat.
Yeah.
And the reason we're hearing it, I guess the beginning of the call, her assistant gets on the line and says, hey, this is off the record. They have a conversation with the reporter and Kellyanne Conway's aide. And then Kellyanne Conway starts a new portion of the conversation and didn't say, hey, now I want this portion with me and you to be off the record. And because of Washington Examiner's policy, that part of the conversation was on the record.
I mean, you heard her typing ferociously at the end of the call.
Yeah. No, look, Kellyanne Conway made a small mistake there in not reiterating that it's off the record. I would have kept it off the record. A little cheesy to say, well, I was off the record with your assistant, but now that you're on, I'm not off the record. But I loved it. I have to confess, the guilty pleasure.
When you cuss me out, it's like, we gotta follow the real rules here, sorry. Like, I don't know.
Also, she could have approached it a little bit differently. I mean, I understand I would imagine how frustrating it is to be a public figure that receives a lot of attention that is less than favorable, and then have your husband, who was talking about the person who cut the check for you, that has to suck, really. And I'm sure she absolutely feels a way about it, but I think she would have approached it a little bit differently. That could have been a completely different conversation that could have had a resolution that could have benefited both parties.
She could have approached it with him.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, like that's who's doing this. This is a story, and this is a story. And he's making it a story over and over and over again. You can't control a reporter.
So I want to say 2 things about that. One is, I have this ongoing theory that that later, when Trump is thrown out or his term ends in however disgrace that it ends, that Kellyanne Conway is going to say, "Hello, you schmucks. I was telling George to write all those things. I was the good guy, and so I'm the one who did all the leaks. I was trying to do damage control from inside the White House. Why did you think my husband, who I am not divorcing, who kept writing these things, 19 pages about how mentally disturbed the guy I'm working for is?
Right.
Where do you think he got that information?" That's what she's gonna say later to cover her ass. It's a whole CYA operation. But right now, she's up for chief of staff. So she doesn't want those tweets to get in the way. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. So that's my theory. Now, if she was a decent human being, the way that she could have had that conversation is say, hey, listen, look, it's hard for a woman to be successful and then have her husband's actions counted against her on top. And that doesn't quite seem fair to me. And that would have been an interesting conversation. I don't think that's true in this case because it is a fascinating story that I think was legitimate to cover. But that would have been a conversation that would have involved some degree of empathy and where she could have made a decent point. But that's not who Kellyanne Conway is. She's a person who's a bully, and of course her go-to move is intimidation, lies, and threats. So that's what she did in spades. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.